The ground beneath Splash's webbed feet cracks with a sound like thunder as her beloved Paradise Island begins its terrifying plunge into the depths of the ocean. What started as a perfect morning of family fishing has become a nightmare beyond imagination when a massive fissure splits the island's heart, releasing scalding seawater that rises faster than any duck can swim. Splash's younger sister Ripple screams in terror as their cozy nest tree tilts at an impossible angle, its roots torn from the rapidly dissolving soil. Their parents are nowhere to be seen, having ventured to the far side of the island just moments before the catastrophe began. And now an ever-widening chasm of churning, boiling water separates them from their family. The ancient island, home to generations of ducks, is not sinking randomly but being pulled down by something far more sinister than natural disaster. Deep beneath the ocean floor, an enormous crack has opened directly into the Earth's molten core, creating a deadly whirlpool of superheated water and lava that devours everything in its path. The island's mystical protective barriers, maintained by sacred coral reefs for thousands of years, are failing one by one as the supernatural forces below grow stronger by the minute. Splash realizes with growing horror that this is no accident when she spots strange geometric symbols glowing red-hot along the expanding fissure, symbols that pulse with an otherworldly intelligence that seems to mock their helplessness. As chunks of their homeland disappear into the steaming abyss, Splash discovers that her family's ancient bloodline carries a terrible secret. Her grandmother's dying words suddenly make horrifying sense as she remembers the old duck's warning about the flame prison deep beneath their island, a supernatural jail that has contained an ancient evil for millennia. The entity trapped below has been slowly weakening the island's foundations for decades, waiting for the perfect moment to break free, and that moment has finally arrived. The only way to seal the breach and save not just their island but the entire ocean from being boiled away is to dive deeper into the Earth's core than any living creature has ever survived, carrying a legendary pearl that must be placed at the exact center of the crack. But there's a catch that makes Splash's heart race with terror. The pearl is located in the island's sacred temple, which is already half submerged in the deadly whirlpool. The temple's guardian spirits, ancient beings of immense power, have been corrupted by the evil entity's influence and now actively hunt anyone who approaches their sanctuary. Splash watches in horror as several brave adult ducks attempt to reach the temple, only to be incinerated by ghostly flames that burst from the sinking structure. Time is running out faster than she can comprehend as each passing second sees more of their world disappear forever into the molten depths. The most heartbreaking revelation comes when Splash realizes that using the pearl requires the ultimate sacrifice. According to the ancient prophecies carved into the temple walls, whoever carries the pearl into the Earth's core will be consumed by the closing fissure, their life force permanently sealing the breach between dimensions. As the youngest and smallest duck on the island, Splash is the only one who might be able to navigate the increasingly narrow underwater passages to reach the core. But accepting this mission means she will never see her family again. The weight of every life on the island, including her beloved sister Ripple, rests on her tiny shoulders as she faces the most impossible choice any young duck has ever confronted. Against all logic and her family's desperate protests, Splash makes the decision that will define her forever. She dives into the scalding whirlpool, her small body immediately assaulted by temperatures that would kill most creatures instantly. But something extraordinary happens as she descends. The deeper she goes, the more her body begins to change and adapt to the extreme conditions. Her normal yellow feathers are replaced by scales that shimmer with an inner fire, and her lungs somehow begin processing the superheated water as if it were air. The ancient magic sleeping in her bloodline is finally awakening, transforming her into something that exists between the worlds of water and flame. The journey through the sinking temple becomes a gauntlet of supernatural horrors as corrupted guardian spirits attack her with increasing desperation. These once benevolent beings have been twisted into nightmarish creatures of smoke and flame, their protective instincts perverted into murderous rage by the evil entity's influence. Splash must use her newly awakened abilities to battle ghosts that can incinerate her with a touch, while navigating through rapidly flooding chambers where the very walls are melting from the intense heat. Each room of the temple presents a new test designed to break her spirit, from illusions of her family calling for help to phantom passages that lead to instant death in pools of liquid fire. When Splash finally reaches the temple's heart and claims the legendary pearl, she discovers the most shocking truth of all. The evil entity trapped beneath the island is actually her great-great-grandmother, a duck who made a similar sacrifice generations ago but was corrupted by the dark forces she tried to contain. The family resemblance is unmistakable as the entity reveals itself, a twisted version of Splash herself, aged by centuries of rage and isolation. This ancestor explains that every generation, one duck from their bloodline must make the same choice, and that Splash's sacrifice will only delay the inevitable for another few decades before the cycle repeats with a new victim from their cursed family. The psychological battle that follows is more devastating than any physical challenge Splash has faced. Her corrupted ancestor offers her a terrible alternative. Instead of sacrificing herself to temporarily seal the breach, she could join the entity in destroying the island quickly, ending the suffering of future generations who would otherwise face the same impossible choice. The promise of power and freedom from the family curse is incredibly tempting, especially as Splash watches her ancestral home continue to crumble around her. For a moment that seems to last an eternity, she seriously considers abandoning her mission and embracing the darkness that would free her from the burden of heroism. But the sound of Ripple's voice, carried impossibly through the chaos above, reminds Splash of what truly matters. Her little sister is singing their favourite lullaby, the one their mother used to hum during thunderstorms, and the pure innocence of that melody cuts through all the entity's manipulations like a blade of light. Splash realises that the curse can only continue if each generation chooses despair over hope, and that she has the power to break the cycle not through sacrifice, but through love. The pearl in her wings begins to glow, not with the cold light of duty, but with the warm radiance of a heart that refuses to give up on tomorrow. The entity's rage at Splash's rejection triggers the most violent upheaval yet, as the island's sinking accelerates to catastrophic speed. Entire sections of their homeland vanish in seconds, dragged down by supernatural forces that seem determined to deny Splash any chance of success. The water around her becomes so superheated that it begins to turn to steam, creating a hellish environment where visibility drops to zero and breathing becomes almost impossible, even with her transformed physiology. She must navigate through this deadly maze using only her instincts and the pearl's faint glow, while the entity throws every possible obstacle in her path. As Splash descends toward the Earth's core, she encounters something that changes her understanding of the entire situation. The crack in the ocean floor isn't just a portal to the planet's molten center. It's actually a wound in reality itself, a tear between dimensions that allows creatures from other worlds to slip through into their ocean. The entity that corrupted her ancestor isn't even from Earth originally, but is one of countless interdimensional parasites that feed on the destruction of inhabited worlds. If the breach isn't properly sealed, it won't just boil their ocean. It will allow an invasion of reality-warping creatures that could destroy every form of life on the planet. The revelation that this is bigger than just saving her island gives Splash the strength she needs for the final phase of her mission. She realizes that the pearl isn't meant to be a sacrifice at all, but rather a key that can permanently lock the dimensional breach if used correctly. The corrupt entity has been lying about the nature of the seal for generations, convincing each family member to make a partial sacrifice that only delays the inevitable while keeping the portal cracked open enough for more creatures to slowly slip through. Splash's ancestor wasn't corrupted by dark forces. She was infected by an interdimensional parasite that has been using her form to manipulate the family bloodline. The true battle begins when Splash confronts not just her corrupted ancestor, but the alien intelligence controlling her. This creature exists partially outside normal reality, making it nearly impossible to fight using conventional means. It can manipulate time and space around itself, creating areas where Splash experiences the same moment repeatedly, or where distances stretch impossibly far. The entity feeds on despair and confusion, growing stronger with each moment of doubt or fear that Splash experiences. The fight becomes as much about maintaining her emotional equilibrium as it is about physical combat, as she must resist the creature's attempts to trap her in cycles of negative thinking. The key to victory comes from an unexpected source: the spirits of all the previous family members who made the sacrifice, including her true ancestor, who was the first victim of the creature's deception. These souls have been trapped in the dimensional breach for generations, but Splash's arrival with the complete pearl gives them the power to break free from their prison. They reveal that the creature's greatest weakness is its inability to understand genuine love and selfless action, emotions that are completely alien to its parasitic nature. By channeling the combined love of her entire family lineage, Splash can turn the pearl into a weapon capable of banishing the entity permanently. But using this power requires something far more difficult than death. It requires Splash to forgive her corrupted ancestor and see past the centuries of manipulation to the frightened young duck who just wanted to save her family. This act of compassion breaks the hold the parasitic entity has maintained over her bloodline, freeing her ancestor's true spirit and allowing all the trapped souls to finally find peace. The pearl transforms in Splash's wings, becoming not a key or weapon, but a seed of new life that will grow into protections far stronger than the old coral barriers ever were. The climactic moment arrives as Splash approaches the dimensional breach with the transformed pearl. But she's not alone anymore. The freed spirits of her ancestors surround her, their combined power creating a shield against the reality-warping effects of the portal. The parasitic entity makes one final desperate attempt to stop her, summoning creatures from multiple dimensions to attack simultaneously. Splash finds herself fighting beings made of living shadow, crystalline predators that sing deadly frequencies, and energy vampires that drain life force with every touch. The battle takes place across multiple layers of reality at once, with Splash having to maintain her focus on several different versions of the fight happening in parallel dimensions. As she places the pearl at the exact center of the dimensional breach, something miraculous happens. Instead of sealing the portal with her sacrifice, the pearl begins to transform the breach itself, turning it from a wound in reality into a garden of interdimensional beauty. The alien creatures that were trying to invade Earth find themselves transformed as well, their aggressive natures calmed by the pearl's influence as they become guardians rather than destroyers. The island, which had been sinking rapidly toward destruction, begins to rise again as new land forms around the healed breach, creating an even larger and more beautiful paradise than before. The entity that had corrupted her ancestor makes one final transformation as it's touched by the pearl's power. The parasitic nature burns away like a shed